you here. We are gonna be here on Zoom, but also thank you everyone who's joining through Zoom. We are seeing you here on the main room, and also people who are joining us through Facebook. We are going live in Education USA Merida, so feel free to follow us and put your comments on that chat as well on Facebook if you want. Before we go ahead and start, let me tell you, for people who are here in Zoom with us today, you are muted and your video is turned off. So if you have any questions, you can always share them through the chat. You can type them there and we will be answering those at the end of our presentation. This session will be available on our YouTube channel. So if you miss something or your internet connection goes wrong, you can always follow up on Education USA Mexico. And thank you everybody for being here. Let's go ahead and start. Today we're going to be talking about improving your soft skills for your graduate admission. My name is Jenny Diaz and I'm the Education USA advisor in Merida. I cover the states of Yucatan, Quintana Roo, and Campeche here in Mexico. And we're very excited to have you here. Also, special thanks to Mabel Martinez, who is the Education USA advisor in Guadalajara that is helping us today, and Jorge Reyes, the Education USA advisor in Oaxaca. They are going to be helping through the chat and also on Facebook Live if you have any comments. And of course, our special guest today is Ricardo Oropesa. He is a representative from the Northeastern State University, and he's the one who's going to be talking about how to improve your soft skills for your graduate admission. So stay tuned. I'm going to make a small introduction about Education USA and some of our services, and then he'll be talking about this pretty important topic. So thank you again, everybody, for being here. I'm going to go ahead and start with this presentation. What is Education USA? We're a global network of advising centers from the US State Department. We have presence in more than 175 countries, and we're very lucky that Mexico is one of them. So you always can find your closest advising center in your state. I mentioned the ones that I cover, but we're a big team, and so wherever you live, you'll find an advisor close to you. We offer accurate, comprehensive, and current information about the full range of institutions, higher education institutions in the US. There are a lot of institutions, more than 4,700 that you can access, and we are your main source for this information. And then all of the information that we share is free. So feel free to reach out, and there is no cost for the services that we offer. Also, I forgot to mention at the beginning, and here in Zoom, you can find a transcript option. We have that option today for you all. So if you are in Zoom, feel free to activate that option and you'll be able to see the subtitles of this session. Let's talk a little bit about our services, but before I move on that, I would like to ask you all, if you're here on Zoom, feel free to share on the chat, where are you joining from? If you are from, what state are you joining from today in Mexico? And if you are in Facebook, feel free to share this information as well on the comments, and we'll be, at the end, we'll be sharing as well. So I would like to see, where are you all joining from? I'll give you a couple of seconds to write that down on the chat. Nuevo León. Welcome, Daniel from Nuevo León. Who else? Aguascalientes, great. We have Nuevo León, Aguascalientes. What else do we have today? I know it takes a few seconds to type down your state. Chiapas. All right, so it looks like we have a nice mix today. And as they keep coming, I'll continue reading those places. So if you have a chance, feel free to share where you're from, and then we'll be sharing. But so far, so good. We have Nuevo León, Aguascalientes, Chiapas. As you can see, people from everywhere in the country. So let's talk a little bit about our services. We say that in Education USA, we serve you with 5 different steps, where the first one is research your options. The second one, finance your studies, and the third one, complete your applications. I'm going to explain a little bit more about these 3 in this presentation, but we also help today. We're not talking about this, but we also help you with the process of applying for your visa. And all the process, like where to start, where to ask for it, what is the link, where can I apply, when should I apply, what do I need? all the questions that you may have, we can help you answering those. And it's a process that we are there to support you, but your application is through the consulate. So we'll be there to support you through the process, but it's just like doing it with you during the entire time. And then the last step that we do is prepare for departure. And basically, since the beginning, when you research your option up to the end, we are going to help you. So what do you need to study in the US? Where are you going to live? How is the culture there? And you may have a lot of questions once you are ready to move in a new country. We are going to help you solving all these questions as well. So let's go ahead and talk. I'm going to go back and talk about the first step. The step one is research your options. So for this, as I was sharing, we have more than 4,700 accredited higher education institutions in the United States. It is about finding the university that is the best one for you. Is there as a program from the US government, we are going to promote all of these institutions, and you have to tell us what is the right fit for you. Where do you want to live? If you're looking for a big university or a small one, if you're looking for kind of weather, if there is a place where you have family and you're familiar with, all of that we need to take into consideration, and mainly the program that you want to study. So what is the university that has the program that you want to study? And then we're going to recommend you to check all of these options. And then once you tell us where you want to go, that's going to be the best fit for you. You have to consider academic, financial, and personal needs. And we also recommend that you start this process 12 to 18 months prior to the academic year. Here in a bit, we're going to check one of these calendars, but for you to understand why we ask you to start this process as soon as you can. So it normally takes 12 to 18 months once you start to process with us until the day that you are going. And then we're also going to provide with these amazing websites where you can find all the schools that I'm talking about in the US. In order to find, you are going to use different filters to put the information that you're looking for, the program, the place, and any filter that you want to include. And then these are going to give you the institutions that have what you are looking for. The second step is completing your application. As you may already know, in order to apply to the US, there are a lot of requirements. And here in Education USA, as your advisors, we are here to help you. They're gonna ask you for an English proficiency test. You can choose which one you're gonna take based on what the universities are asking you for. So we have materials that we can give you in order to prepare for those tests. There is also an standardized admission test that you are going to take in order to get in an institution. And so depending on the institution that you are deciding to go, you have to check how many points they are asking for and prepare for this test as well. You're going to be working in essays, and we always say that an essay is better if you check it not one or two, it's even sometimes even 30 times that you have to go to write your essay. In Education USA, we're going to help you to review this essay and provide feedback every time you want. So if you start before, you're going to get more feedback than if you start pretty late your process, right? So that's something that we help you as well. Then they are going to ask you for a portfolio. If you're going to an arts or a design program, you may have to show the work that you have done previously. They're going to ask you for letters of recommendation. That's pretty important as well, because you have to be now, if you are finishing your undergrad program, or if you're a professional, just make sure to connect with these people who are going to be able to talk about you once you try to enter to this graduate program. You need good letters of recommendation, someone that knows you, someone that works with you on that project, someone that knows how you were excellent in your undergrad degree or in your professional job. So just make sure to have those letters of recommendation, these people in mind that are going to write these letters for you. Then they are going to ask you transcripts. Those are the previous, for example, if you're applying for a master's degree, you are going to need to submit your undergrad transcripts. If you want to do a PhD program, you will need to submit your master's degree. So just make sure to keep that in mind. There is an online application. It varies from institution to institution. We'll help you with that. And then also take into consideration that there is an application fee for every institution. So some of them may use fee waivers where you don't have to pay, but most of them you're going to have to pay an application fee that you have to consider in your budget when you are applying for these schools. here's just some examples of standardized tests. Those are for English. The IELTS, sorry, has a cost of $220. The TOEFL 200, and Duolingo 49. You have to check which one the university where you are trying to apply is accepting, and then choose to take that one. Here are the websites where you can check all of them. They have specific dates when you can take them and specific locations. So make sure to check on that. And then the other tests that they are gonna ask, USD, GMAT, or GRE. Also check what your institution is asking for. Here are the costs and the links as well that you can check. The third step is how to finance your studies. Once you already found what program you want to study and how you're gonna pay, what program you want to study, and you fill out the applications, then you need to consider how you're gonna pay for those studies. So as I was sharing, you need to start thinking about this as early as possible. Cost of living, varies from state to state. So it's different if you decide to live in a huge city that if you decide to live in a small town, right? So the cost of living is gonna vary, the rent, the food, maybe the markets that are gonna be around you. So that's something that you need to take into consideration and identify ways to reduce expenses. So maybe that's the school of my dreams, but I'm not able to afford it once I check how much it costs. So you can always think of options that may be more affordable for you and that you wanna try to do as well. So all of these you have to take into consideration and look for special opportunities and financial aid. I'll share a little bit about that now, but basically, what are those opportunities that you can find to reduce that cost? A scholarship in Mexico, what are the scholarships that the US institutions are offering, et cetera, et cetera. So how can I reduce that cost? And also thinking about my own finance, right? Maybe I have some savings, or maybe my family has some. I have to take that into consideration and add that to the budget that I have to study a graduate program in the US. And of course, send financial aid application with a admission application in order to ask for those financial support that you can get from the universities. We always recommend that you send your financial aid application. Let's take a pretty quick look about how these expenses may look for you. So the application fees varies from institution to institution. It can be from 35 to 250 each. So if you are deciding to apply to 7 institutions, you may need to pay these 7 times. That's why here is like times 7. Then you have to consider your documents, translations, your transcript is gonna be, maybe your institution is gonna give it to you in Spanish. So you need to consider an official translation for that document that is gonna cost you some money. So you need to add that to your budget and how you're gonna send it, the credential evaluation, the test that I was talking about, the TOEFL. If you decide to take that one is 200, or the IELTS, you need to include that price, the GRE. And of course, if you don't know this test and you will need to prepare, as I shared before, we are gonna provide materials for you, but there are some courses that you can also take for those tests in order to prepare yourself that may add another cost. So all of this is what you need to add, and these are the applications expenses, how much money you may need to spend in order to fill out an application. So just take that into consideration. There are some, for example, the TOEFL, you're gonna only take it one time because it's gonna, the same one, you can use it for all the institutions that you wanna apply, but the application fee is for each institution. So you need to take that into consideration, and also make sure that if you're not sure that you're gonna get it right, the grades that you need in your first test, also take into consideration maybe another test and the cost of a second test, right? So just to give you an idea of how to make your budget. As I was sharing, there are some financial aid. It depends on your nationality. For Mexican students, they are offered for different organizations in Mexico, and also for US higher education institutions. I'll show you in the next slide some of these aid support that you can find in Mexico. And in the US, basically, once you fill out your application, you are, as an international student, you are able to work 20 hours per week, and then you can get a job as an assistant, a professor assistant, being a research assistant or something like that. So that's how you are able to help your finance as well. If you are a US citizenship, you have Mexican and has a US citizenship as well. FAFSA would be your body for this, where you can find some financial resources as well. And if you are from other nationalities, you are here today and you are not Mexican, you don't have a dual citizenship, you can find your closest advising center because they have more updated information about your country and what financial aid they offer, right? So, but if you're Mexican, the scholarships that are pretty common, and we all help you to apply for those scholarships as well. For example, is the Fulbright Garcia Robles, also known as Estudios de Posgrados, STEM Regional, or Estudios Binacionales. The scholarship for your graduate studies is Estudios de Posgrado and STEM Regional. Both of these scholarships will help you to pay up to $25,000 per year on your tuition or any expenses that you need to do during your graduate program. If you're going for a master, it's up to 2 years. If you're going for a PhD, it's up to 3 years. And then the STEM also includes an English course for 9 months before starting your graduate program. So, but that's specific for the STEM areas. That is science, technology, engineering, and math. So just take that into consideration. If you are from any other area, you can check the other scholarships. And then also CONACYT, that is pretty common in Mexico, that we hear about this one. You can check that one as well. And for women, there are some specific scholarships for them. So I'll invite you to check all of these, the requirements, dates, when they open, when they close in our website in Education USA. But if you have a specific question, you can always reach to your closest advisor center. And then there are also loans, and those come from Banco de Mexico, FIDER, FUNED, and also OSPAN is another loan that you can access. Also here, I'm sharing the websites of all of those so you can get more information. Feel free to do a screenshot so you can go and check all of those. The difference of loans and scholarships is in loans, you need to return that money, different to a scholarship, right? So let's talk a little bit about the calendar that we work in Education USA before we move with our guest speaker. So what I was saying at the beginning, that it might take you from 12 to 18 months, because let's see, right now we are in spring, almost getting to summer. So by this point in spring 2022, you should be researching your options, what universities have the program that you're looking for. And then on summer, you need to start studying for the test. I was talking about the English test, about the standardized test. And then you also need to start working on your essays with your advisor. So summer is for that. Then on fall, you need to start preparing your applications, because on winter, beginning November, a few in December, you're going to start submitting all of those documents and sending them to the universities. So you have from today up to November, December to finish all your application, all the requirements that I was sharing. So just make sure that you are working on that during this. If you're planning to apply for this year, you should be already working with your advisor and getting those documents ready for the end of year in order to submit your applications. Then in the spring next year, you're going to start receiving those letters of acceptance or rejection, and then start talking with plans with your advisor about what's the next step, right? So once you know if you were accepted, then once you have the admission letter, you can apply for your visa. And then once you have your visa, you can attend a pre-departure orientation with us that we organize in summer 2023 as well. And basically you would be starting in fall 2023. So that's why it's 12 to 18 months, because there is an application process that takes some time before you can actually start your program in fall. And with that, I'm gonna give the microphone to our special guest today, Ricardo. Let me give you Ricardo, thank you for being here. Let me give you a quick introduction about Ricardo. He is an international student advisor in Northeastern State University. And let me share with you a little bit of his bio. He is currently serving as the International Student Advisor for the Office of International Programs for Northeastern State University, also known as NSU. As an advisor, he assists all F1 and J1 international students coming to NSU to ensure their experience abroad in the best possible way. Ricardo assists in international admissions and recruitment, as well as the NSU study abroad programs to help domestic students from the US go abroad during their college career. Ricardo graduated from Northeastern State University with 2 degrees, Bachelor's of Business Administration and Master of Business Administration in Management. As a pro-Hispanic individual and bilingual person, Ricardo hopes to promote the wonderful opportunities associated with international education at Northeastern State University to Spanish-speaking students outside of the US. Ricardo, thank you for being here, and the floor is yours.
Hola, hola, muy buenas tardes. Me llamo Ricardo Oropesa, como dijo Jenny, y estoy muy contento y agradecido de poder presentar y hablar con ustedes sobre el tema de hoy. Esta presentación será en inglés, así que también me voy a introducir en inglés. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ricardo Oropesa, and I am super excited to be able to present to you regarding our topic for today. I feel free to ask any questions in the chat, and we will definitely answer all of those towards the end of the presentation. So let's get started. So as Jenny mentioned, we're going to talk about how to improve your soft skills to improve your graduate admission application process to make yourself a better candidate into a graduate admission. So to start with the overview, we are going to discuss what is a soft skill, understanding undergraduate admission requirements versus graduate college program requirements, soft skills that are needed as a graduate candidate and student, how you can acquire or develop these soft skills, and discussing the benefits of acquiring these skills in the long run for your future. And then towards the end, I will have a discussion and Q&A portions for any of the questions that you may have. So starting off, we will just discuss what is a soft skill. So this is character traits a person naturally has or acquires to help relationships with others. This is also known as people skills, core skills, common skills. This is not, aside from hard skills, these are not knowledge-based skills that you have. They're relating more to your personality and how you interact with people and how you build these relationships. Hard skills are measurable. They're often taught, usually academic or training programs. Soft skills, as I mentioned, are more about the human personality trait. So some examples of soft skills. Oh, you can go to the next one. Yeah. Include communication, detail-oriented, adaptability, time management, leadership, work ethic, interpersonal skills, teamwork. These are just a few of the long lists of what soft skills can include. And these are all that can be applied in basically any type of setting, whether it is applying for a graduate program, applying for a job, going into an undergraduate program, a training program, something that requires some type of admission process. These soft skills would apply to all of them, but specifically we're going to focus on how this can impact and better your graduate admission process. So I want to talk about admission requirements and graduate program requirements here in the US. So oftentimes when you're doing research about a school that you want to go to for a master's program, they're going to have admission requirements in order to get into the graduate program. So into the graduate college, they may have something such as a 3.5 GPA, you need to have a certain TOEFL score, and you need to have a 4-year degree from somewhere, relatively basic, and you get into the college. But let's say you are wanting to do a master's of natural sciences. That's just an example. They may have different admission requirements to get into the specific program. So I like to think of it kind of like as a 2-step process. Like you get into the graduate college, but then you need to make sure you meet the requirements of the program you want to do. That's something that's very important myself as an NSU graduate student who did my master's in business administration. I had specific admission requirements for my program, and they were slightly different from the actual graduate college and admission process. So like it says on the slide, meeting admission requirements to a graduate college does not necessarily mean you are admitted to the program of your choice. So right then and there, it's good to do your research because sometimes those admission requirements are not the exact same. Each program will have something different. Sometimes graduate programs may be extensive, maybe more extensive than the admission requirements. And basically what that means is that they may make it a little bit longer. They're going to ask for a little bit more. They may have an interview process. They may ask for additional test scores, which that would be considered a hard skill. You may need to do a presentation. They will want recommendation references. And as Jenny said previously, maybe essays, something along those lines where they want to get to know you more besides what's on your application. So since we are talking about soft skills, these requirements themselves from the beginning of the admission process require soft skills. So an example like interviewing, it's going to require you to have communication skills and adaptability skills because you will have to know how to talk to these people when you're interviewing and telling them about yourself and adapt yourself to the different questions that they'll pose you because they won't tell you ahead of time what they're going to ask you. You just kind of have to be prepared for the most. Essays, you need to know how to problem solve. You need to know how to be detail oriented. You need to understand what's the prompt, what they're asking for, and what they're looking for from your essay portion. If you're doing a presentation or a speech, you need to know communication. You need to know time management. You need to be creative. Again, communication goes with interviewing, presentations, anything that's like vocal interaction. You need to know how to talk to these people. You need to know how to manage your time because more than likely your presentations will have some type of time constraint, and being creative because you need to be engaging. You can't, you have to keep your audience interested, especially people that are deciding whether or not you are a fit into their graduate program to be admitted to their school. And then recommendations or references. So you need to have interpersonal skills, communication skills. Just like Jenny said, you need to know like networking yourself beforehand and finding these people back home or where you worked or where you've been previously that can say something about you that can help you for this graduate program. So even from this point right now, the importance of soft skills is so high. And that's why it's good to do your research and it's good to know kind of what to expect. So some soft skills that you're needing as a graduate candidate and student, these are just what you would need to get into these programs or what they want to see from you as well as being a student. So first and foremost is teamwork. Working with others will occur in your academic and professional life. So if they ask you questions, how well are you collaborating with others, or this program may require you to do a lot of group work, having that skill under your belt is going to help you a lot because it is proven, in school you do so many group projects. And sometimes like myself, I would ask myself, why is there so many like group projects? I like to work independently, but it prepares you because your professional life, you will be working in a team unless you're doing an absolute independent business of some sort. But most times if you are working, you are going to be in an organization, you will have to work as a team. So you need to have that skill set. Creativity, so thinking outside of the box. So this pertaining to your admission status and being able to be admitted, whether it's through an interview, presentation, anything of that sort that colleges will look for. Creativity is good. Thinking outside of the box. When you're interviewed, when you're giving a presentation, do something that will make you stand out. That is something that it's important, because all these graduate professionals, graduate college professionals that work in the graduate colleges that interview people or faculty members or staff members, they see so many interviews, so many applications, and more than oftentimes they will see a lot of the same. You will have the same GPA, similar grades, similar TOEFL scores or any English language score. So when they talk to you, they want to see kind of what you bring to the table. What else do you bring as an international student and your experiences from the past? Critical thinking. So critical thinking ties into basically everything. You'll be challenged to think in different ways to complete your coursework or different ways in your interviews, in your presentations, in your prompts. You need to know how to problem solve and how to come up with a solution, whether it's in an essay portion or in an interview portion. They want to see how well you critically think, because you will be doing a lot of critical thinking activities when you are in your classes. Problem solving ties back to that. You'll need this skill in and out of your schooling. As I just mentioned previously, this is something that's going to help you from admission point of a graduate college and beyond. Adaptability. So each project, each group project, each class is going to have different learning styles and methods for your education. So you may be asked in an interview, you may give a presentation, how you adapt to these things. How do you manage yourself? How can you handle it all? Because you will have different classes with different professors that will teach you differently. I did that all throughout my undergraduate and graduate program. So it is pretty important to know how to adapt yourself, and they like to see that you can adapt yourself. And then time management, you may be doing multiple projects for multiple classes with multiple deadlines. So, coming to the US, studying here will be, an adaptation process, but your professors will be running as normal with school and assignments and projects and expect you to fulfill it to the best of your ability. So knowing how to plan your day out, knowing how to manage your time and putting your school first is what's going to make a huge difference in your graduate application to come to a graduate program, whether it's a master's or doctoral program here in the US. So how to acquire these soft skills? So most of these skills, you probably already have them. It's just more of how do you develop them more, or how do you improve them more? Where these soft skills usually come from is your whole life experiences, whether it was in school, whether it was in different jobs, high school, middle school, anything that started to expose you to teamwork, to collaboration, to critical thinking. This is where you're getting exposed to these soft skills. So you have them. Oftentimes you do have these, but there are ways to enhance them, to improve them, to acquire them. Putting yourself out there, that's just kind of the bottom line, whether it's working for a volunteer program, organizational involvement during your undergraduate program. So whatever, if you're still pursuing your undergraduate degree right now, your bachelor's degree, get involved, organizations like that, because you can talk about these things in your interviews when you apply for a US school, and things that you can have under your belt. Participating in other training programs, attending job and career fairs, meeting people, doing mock interviews, which I think that's a big one, especially if you may be interviewed for a graduate program, knowing how to talk and knowing things that you should say and things that will be best, to bring up and talk to these people. Those are important things to do. Accepting leadership roles, for work or school or organizations, whether it's an academic program, a volunteer program, anything of that sort. If you want to be a leader, that will give you much more exposure and much more to talk about when you are presenting yourself as a graduate student candidate, as well as working on collaborative projects. So you're going to find collaborative projects pretty much everywhere, whether it's a volunteer program, training programs, currently still being in school. Working on collaborative projects is just really going to boost that teamwork experience. And at the end, all of these will give you more experience to heighten your graduate application. So again, this is all just to help you so you have more to be able to talk about and to present about when you're applying for a graduate school. So benefits of acquiring these soft skills, developing your soft skills can not only just help you for the admission process, but beyond. Your skill set becomes wider. You gain more working experience. You boost your productivity and performance. You gain these connections. You increase your network opportunities. So these are all helping you become a more attractive candidate, whether it's for graduate school, whether it is for a job. You are getting more of a skill set that makes you more marketable, that makes you stand out. again, as I kind of go back to it, when there's graduate applications and there's a longer process, there will be multiple of you guys interviewing. So they're wanting to see something different, you know, obviously meeting the requirements of your grades and GPA, but seeing more about you and what you do and what you can bring to the table here as a student. As I mentioned, you'll just become more attractive to schools and workplaces because of your skill set being much wider and more developed. And again, this will take you to the long run. It's not, you know, beyond admission. This will help you when you're in school in a graduate program here, because you will have these skills to work in a team, to be able to be productive. You'll be able to meet people and network yourself with these people because you're putting yourself out there, and they can help you find a job. They can help you, you know, find a friend of a friend that knows about a job or an internship opportunity, and just kind of reach that ultimate goal that you have. So there's multiple benefits of doing this and acquiring these skills and just exposing yourselves to them. So that is pretty much kind of all I have on my end. I just wanted you guys all to kind of get a little information on the importance of these soft skills and how they can help you and benefit your graduate admission process. Right now, I am more than happy to take any questions. I know Jenny also will help with that. I'm willing to take questions in English or Spanish, so it's up to you guys.
Thank you so much, Ricardo, for sharing this pretty valuable information about soft skills for candidates for the grad school in the US, right? So before I move forward and give the floor to Mabel to come up with all of these questions that we've been getting from the audience, I would like to ask you if you could share a little bit about your experience, because you were an undergraduate student and also a graduate student in the US. So how did you find out about all of these soft skills? What did you do before you were admitted to a program to make sure that you were making your profile stronger, as you were talking, right? To be a great candidate.
Absolutely. Right, absolutely. So one of the main things that I did during my undergraduate process was to be involved, whether it's organization, whether, again, it's volunteering, whether it's working, because it is going to make you develop these skills and make you put yourself out of your comfort zone to gain these skills. I don't recommend doing too much, you know, don't do absolutely everything, because time management's important. Your own, you know, mental sanity and keeping up with things is important, but it really comes down to really putting yourself out there, in the sense, whether it's a job, whether it's being in an organization at school or volunteer program, and you take the initiative to be a leader, to organize that project, to create a collaborative project. Those are those little like spots where you will expose yourself more to the soft skills. And that's what I did in my undergraduate admission. You know, being involved in 3 organizations on campus really helped me network myself, and people kind of knew a little bit more about me. Like the graduate college, they knew kind of who I was because of my involvement in organizations. So those things help you, you know, those things help you, and those things just make you more, again, more attractive as a candidate.
Great, Ricardo. Thank you so much. And then, Mabel, are you around here? Do we have questions from the audience?
Hello, everyone, and thank you for that interesting conversation or session. Yeah, we have received some questions. So I'm going to start with the first one that we received. Is about that it is mandatory to have a bachelor's degree to apply for a graduate program.
Yes, more than likely you will have to, at least in our university it is, the universities around the area, they will need to see a bachelor's degree to apply. And that doesn't just apply to you guys as international candidates, it's also for domestic students to know that you have a 4-year degree or 3-year degree, 5-year bachelor's degree.
Perfect. And the other question, we have it in Spanish, so I'm going to switch to Spanish. ¿Podemos iniciar el proceso de admisión si aún no estamos graduados de la licenciatura? Esa sería la primera parte de la pregunta y no sé si la quieras contestar y ahorita te doy la segunda.
Sí, la primera pregunta para contestarla, Todo depende del tiempo. O sea, hay fechas. O sea, cuando aplicas, por ejemplo, nuestra universidad para poder entrar este fall o este agosto, para aplicar tienes hasta el 1 de julio. Si todavía estás en la escuela ahorita, tú puedes aplicar ahorita si vas a acabar en mayo. Si ya vas a terminar en mayo, junio, vas a acabar la carrera, vas a poder aplicar. Pero, por ejemplo, si te falta 1 año, 2 años más, no van a revisar tu aplicación hasta después porque todavía te falta tiempo. Verán que tu aplicación está incompleta porque no tienes tu licenciatura todavía. Así que todo depende del tiempo, depende de en qué punto de la carrera estás ahorita.
Entonces, como recomendación, tal vez sugerirles a los chicos que confirmen con el departamento de admisiones de la universidad a la que quieren solicitar admisión, si dependiendo de cuándo ellos terminen, si pueden solicitar, ¿cierto?
Sí, yo diría 100% estoy de acuerdo. Como una regla no tan oficial, pero para tenerlo ahí en tu cabecita sería tu último año de tu carrera, de tu licenciatura, es un buen tiempo para empezar a ver y aplicar a estas escuelas, porque ya vas a terminar pronto.
Sí, y también recordando un poquito lo que nos decía Jenny, de que pues se sugiere nosotros como asesores que empiecen el proceso de 12 a 18 meses antes porque es bastante largo y es un poco el proceso diferente a lo que estamos acostumbrados aquí en México.
Claro.
La otra parte de la pregunta que nos hace Diana es si podemos trabajar en Estados Unidos en nuestros tiempos libres, como estudiantes, quiero pensar, bueno, mientras estamos estudiando.
Sí, y esto es una pregunta que fíjate que me preguntan mucho como asesor. Si puedes trabajar en tus tiempos libres, por ejemplo, en verano o cuando te den 4 semanas, 3 semanas en Navidad aquí usualmente, tú puedes trabajar en esos tiempos libres, pero tienes que estar todavía inscrito como un estudiante. Es decir, empezaste tu primer año en agosto y ya terminaste el primer año en mayo. Tú puedes trabajar de mayo a agosto con que estés inscrito para el siguiente año todavía. Y como regla migratoria, estudiantes pueden trabajar 20 horas por semana en Estados Unidos y tiene que ser en el campus, que tiene que ser en la universidad. Si estás de vacaciones o un tiempo libre donde las clases no están en sesión, puedes trabajar hasta 29 horas por semana. Así que verano, Navidad, Thanksgiving break, puedes trabajar más tiempo, pero sí hay ciertas reglas todavía.
Perfecto, eso es muy útil y la verdad es que acérquense a su asesor Education USA para conocer un poquito más tal vez de los trabajos que pueden haber en el campus, porque son muy interesantes de repente. Tenemos otra pregunta en español. ¿En algún caso llegan a pedir la cédula profesional?
Probablemente aquí en Estados Unidos es un poco diferente lo que es la cédula profesional en comparación a la titulación y el diploma aquí. Si esa es tu representación de que recibiste la licenciatura y la tienes, probablemente te van a preguntar por eso, pero si tienes un diploma y tienes tus reporte de tus calificaciones en donde está diciendo ya terminé, ya hice 4 años, ya está todo completado, eso también puede ser válido, pero honestamente eso varía por la escuela. Varía, cada escuela va a tener requisitos diferentes. Por ejemplo, nosotros probablemente si tienes una titulación, si tienes un diploma, si tienes tu reporte de calificaciones y ahí de alguna manera nos demuestra que todo está completado, probablemente no necesitarías la cédula profesional, pero todo depende, todo es variable y en el proceso de admisión, los departamentos de admisiones en las universidades aquí van a tener mucho contacto y mucha comunicación contigo sobre esas cosas.
Muchas gracias, Ricardo, que también es otra, si me permiten, también es otra cosa que creo que es bueno reforzar, el tema de que no tengan miedo de acercarse a las universidades. Nosotras trabajamos mucho con ellas y la verdad siempre están muy dispuestas a ayudarlos a entender el proceso, las fechas límites y todas aquellas dudas que puedan tener. Muy bien. Ahora tengo una pregunta para Jenny. Hay un estudiante, porque esto se sale un poquito del tema general que estamos viendo, que pregunta sobre, en caso de que él sea médico y quiera realizar una residencia médica, ¿cómo puede iniciar el trámite?
Es una muy buena pregunta. En este caso, si tú estudiaste medicina y quieres estudiar tu posgrado en Estados Unidos, te podemos asesorar. Es un caso muy específico, entonces yo te recomendaría que te acerques. Creo que Mabel ya estuvo compartiendo en el chat los centros de asesoría más cercanos y platiques con tu asesor de manera personal. Sí se puede, pero es un proceso bastante tedioso que preferiríamos explicarte en sesiones 1 a 1. Entonces, pues ahí está nuestro contacto para que te pongas en contacto y te damos pues los detalles de cómo hacer este proceso, ¿no? Gracias, Noel.
Sí, y ya lo volví a poner en el chat para este estudiante. Tenemos otra pregunta. This is in English. If I am an introvert person, how did you suggest I can start building a great networking?
As an introverted person, how can I build a great networking? So I would say, as someone who is more of an introvert person, I've had to learn along the way to be able to develop these social skills. Getting out of your comfort zone is part of it, but don't do a million things at once, especially if it's something that doesn't make you comfortable. So what I recommend is, for example, if you're still in school and you have a couple close friends, join an organization, just you guys. You don't have to be a leader. You don't have to do anything. Be a member, just be a part of it. And that will automatically make you get to know people and network yourself in a comfortable manner where you're not thrown out there yourself on the spotlight, that you are a leader and that you have to do a million things on your own. That is a good way to start because it will make you feel more comfortable the more you're putting yourself out there. And I tell you this from personal experience because when I came here, my freshman year of college, I did not have the social skills I have now. Again, I am someone that is usually more reserved, more quiet. But that does not necessarily mean that I cannot talk to people and I cannot socialize and I cannot be extroverted. So I would say start little by little until you start building that comfort to it and maybe do a little bit more, you know. Making new friends, that's something for me that still to this day makes me feel a little not nerve-wracking, but it's just like not the most comfortable thing because it's not the nature of my personality. But put yourself out there in that social aspect. You know, everyone wants to make friends. There's also people like you that feel introverted that may want to talk to you, but they're not wanting to talk to you because they feel the exact same way you do. So if you just lend them a hand and you say something first, that can spark something up, you know, and start that conversation, start that networking and whatnot. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, I think you did answer the question. I have two more questions at the moment. One, it's about the visa. And I'm not sure if you want to answer this or Jenny, but what kind of visa should we apply to study a graduate program in the US?
So to my understanding, and Jenny can also put in some input if she wants, you would be a degree seeking student. That means you are here to get a degree at the university in the United States. So the best fit would be an F1 visa, F1 student visa. I know there's J1 visas that are more for the exchange portion of things, but if you're coming here to live for a period of time to get your college degree, it would be most fit to be on an F1.
Thank you, Ricardo. And just to add to that, in order to get your student visa, you first need to be admitted to a graduate program in the US. So you need a form that is called I-20, that where you're gonna go and ask for your visa to the consulate. So always use the help of your advising center, talk to them, get admitted to that program. And after that, start worrying about your visa. As you say at the beginning of the presentation, is the 4 steps. So there are a lot of steps that you will need to take before getting to that. So just take that into consideration, and just always good to know, in order to get a student visa, you need to be admitted to a graduate program.
Right. And adding on more to it, Danny said, for example, my position as an international student advisor, I issue I-20s. So when you're admitted, I get to issue that I-20 for you before you're coming here so you can get that visa process. So what that means is when you are researching and looking for these people, look for those international advisors, look for those international student specialists, look for those international professionals in those departments, because those are the ones that are going to be able to assess you the best on the immigration process to get your visa. And they're often the ones that are going to be able to issue your I-20. Issuing an I-20 per US law is specific people in the university can do it, not just anyone. So.
Thank you for those insights. And the last question is about the employment rate. By any chance, do you know what is employment rate that you have at your university?
Employment rate, do you mean like the pay? Is that?
Like after I understand that after students graduate from Northeastern University.
Oh, graduating after what the employment rate. Okay, yeah, so that really depends on your field and the degree that you're getting. That depends. Something that you guys may have already heard in other presentations, and I don't want to talk too much on this, but if you are an F1 student and you get your degree at the US, you as an international student will get a 1-year employment benefit to work outside of school full-time with a full salary in the US for 1 year. That is a different process that your international advisors at your school will talk to you during your last semester or last year of college, but you can work with that. And with that process, you need to find a job. So that all really depends on the field that you are doing, and it needs to relate to your major. So OPT, optional practical training, that is an option given to you by US Immigration. And one of the rules they state is that it needs to be, your job that you're looking for needs to relate to your program of study, your major. So it's all very variant on what you're wanting to do. So if you are doing something in the science or STEM field, if there is a higher demand, you will most likely be able to find a job at a higher rate than a different field. It just really depends where you're at, the demand, and right now, like how much the field is booming, like how much is that field actually growing. So that's something that you can do your own research, and I recommend seeing what are the top jobs right now in the US, like what are the most important fields right now or most growing fields, because those are the ones that will require the most people, which means it will increase your employment rate opportunity.
Excellent. And that will be all on my end. So
thank you so much, Mabel, for your help on this one. And if you want to learn more about this last point that Ricardo was sharing, we also have, and are going to have next month, a professional roundtable. Stay tuned in our social media, because we're going to have professionals talking about what is the trend right now, the trend in all of these different professional options that you can have by studying in the US and coming back to work here in our country, right? So let me move to the next one, Ricardo. I think I'm gonna allow you to share this one for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So firstly, I want to thank you guys so much for listening to me for these past 20 minutes. It was actually really nice to give a presentation, especially to people in a different country. I know with COVID and things like that, it's been hard, with traveling. So it's been really nice to get to interact with you guys. If you don't have questions now, but you do have questions later, feel free to email me right there. My email is oropesa@nsuok.edu, and I would be more than happy to answer your questions that you may have in the future, or if you're interested in attending our university, anything of that sort, I am more than happy to give you information and to answer any questions. So, muchísimas gracias por su tiempo.
Gracias, Ricardo. And then before we go, also, like if you want to stay in touch, we've been talking about getting in touch with us for more information as well. In Education USA, you can follow us in our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. The Facebook and Twitter are from the Education USA Center here at Merida, the one that I'm in charge of. And then you can see the Instagram, WordPress, and YouTube channel that is national-wide. So feel free to follow us, and then you'll find more information about how to study, how to prepare, and great sessions like the one we had today with Ricardo to prepare yourself better for your application process. Here below, you can find my emails. This is the email of my center where you can reach me out for more questions. And thank you everyone who joined today. Ricardo, thank you very much for this amazing presentation. It was a pleasure working with you through this entire time. Mabel, Jorge, for your help, and everyone who joined today. We're looking forward to seeing you in our next session, and have a nice evening, everybody. Bye.